We finally got a wide receiver. The Chicago Bears drafted Velus Jones Jr., wide receiver out of Tennessee, with the 71st pick of the 2022 NFL Draft. What's going on, guys? I'm back with another Chicago Bears draft reaction video. I'll be reacting to every single pick the Bears made today. There's 11 total picks that the Bears made in this year's draft, so if you guys want to see all my breakdowns, definitely be sure to subscribe. But in this video, I'll be breaking down the draft pick of Velus Jones Jr. And is this a reach, guys? Yes, I think it probably is a reach. Okay, this probably is a player that, you know, according to the draft boards that I saw at least, would have been available in the 4th, 5th round. But I think that Ryan Poles didn't want to take the risk of having this guy slip and, you know, not be available to the Bears. Okay, because we didn't have a 4th round pick at all this year. And I think he tried to trade back, but probably was not able to trade back in an attempt to get Jones. I'm sure they just liked Jones overall, so they didn't want to pass up on Jones as a prospect. They liked him, his fit with Justin Fields. Luke Getsy liked him a lot, according to reports. So even though it's a little bit of a reach, I would say this is a very good football player that the Chicago Bears are getting. Okay, very fast, very explosive, and in terms of yards after the catch, he's going to provide the Bears with yak ability that they have not had in a long time here in Chicago. Okay, now yes, this is a very old rookie. Okay, he's gonna be 25 years old week 1 of this season. So I'm seeing a lot of Bears fans that were opposed to the pick, you know, somewhat purely based on this reason, right? They think he's too old as a rookie. They think that he's not going to improve much beyond what he is right now because he's already, you know, 25. They think that there's probably something wrong with him if he was in college for that long and couldn't come out. But guys, if he can play in the NFL level, who cares how old he is? Okay, he probably won't sign a big contract after his rookie contract is up because he's going to be, you know, 29 by the time the contract is over. But who cares, guys? I mean, if you get 4 good years out of Velus Jones Jr., if he provides you with some, you know, explosive plays in this Luke Getsy offense with Justin Fields, that's a good use of a 3rd round pick. Okay, I know there are other guys available like Jalen Tolbert that a lot of Bears fans might have liked, but the fit in Getsy's system with Velus Jones Jr. is pretty good, and I'll be talking about that fit right now. So I'll start by talking about his measurables first of all. So he's 6 foot tall, weighs 201 pounds, has a lot of muscle on him, very strong, you know, overall. If you look at his RAS, very high RAS score, okay, compared to all the other receivers in this year's class. He was one of the more explosive, athletic ones, which again fits the theme of Ryan Poles wanting, you know, very good athletes. Okay, Eberflus, Getsy have stressed the need for athletes on this football team, and they want, you know, the most athletic guys they can possibly find. They think that their coaching staff is good enough to the point where they can develop these guys into good overall football players based on their, you know, athletic abilities that they're starting out with. So 4.31 40-yard dash. Okay, extremely fast. If you look at his size, his height, obviously not the tallest guy, but again, like I mentioned, pretty good weight, pretty good strength that he has. Quite honestly, guys, the best comparison I have for him is Deebo Samuel. Okay, maybe like a poor man's Deebo Samuel. I'm not saying he's going to be Deebo Samuel because that would be the high-end prediction of where he could end up, but a lot of the traits are pretty similar. Okay, a guy that, you know, seems like he has the strength to even line up at running back if he wants to, a guy that can return kicks, that can return punts, a guy that can line up at receiver because of his speed, and a guy that is strong enough to, you know, bully people after the catch. If you look at his yards after the catch, guys, he actually had the best yak production out of any of the receivers in this year's class. I'll put a graphic on the screen right now. So if you look at his yak per reception, last year it was 8.32, and then yards after contact per reception was 4.02. And if you combine those two metrics, like, he had, you know, one of the best overall yak rankings in the NFL. He is shifty, he is fast, he is elusive, he can break tackles, he can go side to side, he can make you miss in the open field, but also he can run over you. He has enough power to do so, especially over the weaker cornerbacks that, you know, some of which he's going to encounter in today's NFL. A lot of them are not as big as they used to be because teams seem to prioritize speed and, you know, quickness more than strength in nowadays, in the NFL nowadays. So I will say that his overall route tree is pretty limited though. So this is kind of more of a guy that is going to run, you know, a certain amount of routes, and you're just going to try to get the ball to him and try to get to the ball to him in space if he can, because after the catch, guys, he is electric. Like, he's going to make people miss in the open field and get production that way, but he's not the most complex route runner, okay? The finesse, the agility in that regard isn't really there just yet. His hands are also, just average, I would say. Not like amazing hands where he's making crazy catches, every single game. He has decent enough hands, but he's not going to be like a, like a DeAndre Hopkins or anything, obviously, right? So in Luke Getsy's system, though, like there could be a lot of use for Velus Jones Jr., okay? Maybe take some runs up the middle of the field like Deebo Samuel does. This is a variation probably of the Shanahan offense, and you guys have seen Kyle Shanahan use Deebo Samuel in so many different ways in that 49ers backfield. You can also split him out wide and hope he just runs past the quarterback, the safeties that he's going up against. And, many times he might do that because he's that fast, that explosive, and once the ball is in his hands, once Justin Fields delivers the ball to him, he might be taking it to the house. He might be making people miss. So a lot of value for him, even if he is kind of a limited route runner, and he has improved every single year, guys. I mean, he has a remarkable story of how he even got to the NFL. If you guys saw the video the Bears posted, I mean, he was extremely emotional when the Bears drafted him because, it's been a struggle for him to get to this point. And I think that players like this, players that are this motivated, players that are this hungry, that are also this mature, I mean, he is going to be 25 years old, so he's ready to contribute right away and hopefully be a factor in the new Luke Getsy offense during year one. So if I read you guys' stats, I'll read you guys' kickoff and punt return stats first. He was a full-time kickoff return man for USC and also for Tennessee. If you look at his total kickoff return stats, he has a total of 2,973 return yards and an average of 24.4 yards per return, 2 touchdowns as well. If you look at his punt return stats, he only started punt returning last year with Tennessee. 272 total yards, an average of 15.1 yards per return. And like I said, guys, his shiftiness, his speed, his explosion, that helps him in returning kicks and in returning punts. And for the Chicago Bears, I think it's going to be a very dynamic, very explosive return man. I mean, we need a return man because Cordell Patterson left us a while ago. Jakeem Grant left us this year. He was a strong return man for us last year. So getting Velus Jones as a return man obviously is the best, but you would hope for much more production beyond just returning kicks, just returning punts to justify the 3rd round pick that we use. So if you look at his receiving stats in college, so 2021 was his breakout season. He had 807 total yards, 7 touchdowns, had a touchdown in their bowl game too. Not too much production before that, which again is why this pick is a bit risky, okay? He's kind of a one-year wonder in some ways. He only had one really good year in college football, but a lot of the traits that he has are going to translate very well to the NFL field for, this new offense that the Bears are going to be running. So again, is this kind of a reach? Yeah, you probably could say so, but if he turns into a good football player, nobody will care where we selected him, and nobody will care what his age is either, guys. Okay, if next year he goes off for a good amount of yards and has production in terms of kickoff returns and punt returns as well, this will look like a pretty good pick, and Ryan Poles will look like a genius, but he has to prove it first on the football field. So let me know what you guys think about this pick in the comments down below, and as always, bear down.